Okay, bad news. Here it is. You've been wanting or waiting for a letter, and there's no letter there. And I have been trying to get one off. As a matter of fact, I've had one started, and I worked on it and worked on it for the past few weeks, and never gotten the thing off. And right now, things are really cramped up as far as work goes. And so, since this letter demands a great deal of attention from what you requested in your other letters, and also since I haven't had anything off to you, and also since it takes me so much longer to write any letter than it ever will to take this hour to talk to you, I figured that I'm going to use this big tape, since it's the only one I have. Send it at 7.5 because I just don't have time enough to talk for 2 hours. This ought to run approximately 48 to 52 minutes, I guess. And let you hear from me at least. And let you know what I've been up to and why I haven't written, and assure you that it's not because I haven't thought of you or anything of that sort. It's just basically, as I've told you time and time again, I'm poor at writing, and strange as it may seem, time has not been too ample recently around old 216. Though I know you've heard the flying has been light, and I know you've heard that this has happened, that has happened, and everything of that sort. It's a lot different when you get around an attack squadron, believe me. And also your old Mink, for some strange reason, and God only knows why, but I've picked myself up another good little job, and I have been actually swamped. As a matter of fact, I've been sitting here tonight studying, taking notes out of a book, if you can believe that. This I do not appreciate, this I do not like, this I do not enjoy, and this is making me slightly sick and ill. However, it's something which has to be done, and I'm trying to do it and trying to get it out of the way. And I guess actually it's primarily the reason why you haven't heard. As I said, this letter I had started to you in an effort to answer all questions that you had written. Now, I chuckle because it was sort of hard to write it to you, and I sat there and pounded over it. As a matter of fact, I started this one letter I've never finished several times, and for some reason, I'd get into it and I'd start getting upset, and then I'd let it go. On these particular issues, you know, I've started getting upset too many times before, I guess. Or not particularly with you, but I have. And I certainly don't want to, and I don't like to send you anything when I'm in a mood of that type. So I thought maybe I'd just sit here, and to start with, what I'm going to do right off, and please excuse the poor English and all from my badly written letters, but I'm going to read you that which I've written already, and then I'll try to expound upon it and square everything away so possibly you'll understand. I hope you will anyway, and I hope you'll understand it correctly. Because, needless to say, your understanding and having a complete understanding in every degree of what's said here is real important to me. It is. And I don't want you to go off half-cocked like some damn dumb women. Yes, I said damn. But going off like some darn dumb. How's that, woman? And taking one word and putting in any or developing any interpretation that you so desire. Okay? Alright. We're starting out. This little letter has at the top of it Monday. I still haven't learned to put dates on these things. If I remember correctly, this should go back about 3 weeks. I'm ashamed. And it starts. Alright, sweet one, here we go. Another week is beginning, which naturally means that another week has passed, and thus we are just that much closer to finishing this cruise. This morning we departed from Yokosuka for a week of operations at sea. Next Monday evening should find us tying up for about 4 days before returning to sea again. We've been tied up since last Monday, so have had a pretty nice rest along with some fine liberty. The liberty along with some personal impressions will come later. Right now I want to get into your letters. Catch that? Get into your letters. To begin with, don't take the wrong meaning. I just thought what that sounded like. Sorry. To begin with, I have not as yet received any information pertaining to my telephone bill. This I would appreciate at your first opportunity. Now, off the cuff and out of the letter, I would. Please send me that bill, Wilma, so I can reimburse you for it. I don't expect in any way or matter or form for you to carry that thing. You may be loaded, but you don't have that much dough. Okay? I'd sure appreciate it next time you decide that you can sit down and write me, which I hope will be after you receive this tape. To continue with the letter. The pictures arrived in fine shape. I'm sorry that I cannot also enjoy your enthusiasm over them. The one with baby is the best by far. The two in the living room I don't go for at all. The one will do, I imagine, but the other one is strictly out as far as I'm concerned. This is primarily the reason I never let my picture be taken, and why I shouldn't have let you take it either. My attitude must simply break down to basically not caring for the appearance I actually make as compared to that which I optimistically hope for. I think that's true with all of us. Congratulations on the purchase of your car, that's for sure. From all accounts, it sounds as though it was a perfect buy, and I know that it will prove to be a great pleasure. Now to try and bite into your many changing moods and expressions about writing me. Actually, I don't know why I'm even attempting this on paper, since I feel it would be a losing proposition if I had an entire evening with you for nothing more than discussion. How true. In your first letter you mentioned having a deflated ego, this is in quotes, since ... received a letter before you. This is very easily explained due to the fact that when we received our first mail upon our arrival at Pearl, there were no letters from you, but there were 2 from ... The next day there was no word from you again. There was another letter from ... And so the days and weeks continued to go by. Each day I had hopes of hearing from you. No word. This went on until we arrived in Yokosuka. When we got our mail there, I received 6 letters, but first... I can't even read my own writing. The first I'd... What'd I say? I received 6 letters at first. I don't know what the hell I'm saying here. Anyway, the first from you arrived the following day. Since then I have received nothing from you. However, I'm hoping that when we return Monday evening or Tuesday morning, there will be some more letters waiting for me. A week has gone by since starting this, so we are again on the move, planning to arrive in Kobe tomorrow. That'd be Thursday the 6th of March. Boy, I'm not too bad, am I? That's 1 week, and today is the 16th of March, so that'll give you an idea. The very day I was writing the above part, we received some mail, and amongst my share were several from you. These I appreciated, to say the least. There were several more mail calls while in port. From these I learned more of your doings. Upon leaving Yokosuka, mail stopped until yesterday. In other words, that meant we went a week without mail. Nothing from you this time, but imagine there will be when we tie up tomorrow. Your changing moods in your letters really fascinate me. First I get a sweet, warm letter, then I get several matter-of-fact ones. In one you said you were too busy to write, and another you said that you, or rather that I hadn't said anything to you about writing, giving the impression that you didn't know I wanted you to do so. Yet in the same letter you said, quoting me, something to the effect that I had once said if a person wanted something or wanted to do something that they should do it, etc. And then in another letter you said that you hadn't been doing much and thus had gotten much reading done. On top of all of this, you then came through with a statement that you no longer believed in playing games. I'm sorry, but I must admit that I'm completely confused. And I mean it too. Ooh, here we go. Don't misunderstand me now. I say it again. Don't misunderstand me. I don't intend to be sarcastic in any way. I'm just trying my best to figure out what to believe. If I remember correctly, in one of my first letters I explained in detail my complete thoughts on the subject. I refused to tell you how to write, when to write, for I then might just as well write to myself. When I received a letter from a person, or when I receive a letter from a person, I like to feel that the letter was originated from a desire within that person and put on paper when the time permitted. Therefore, if you don't feel like writing me, don't. And I mean it. If you do feel like writing me, and the time permits, do. And I mean that also. Any other action is nothing less than figuring a play and thus playing the game. Ever heard that before? As far as my feelings towards you, this I consider ridiculous, since I know we have been over it before. However, if necessary, I'll put it in black and white. Think you are an extremely nice, sensitive, warm, intelligent, thoughtful, sincere, and enjoyable person. I must have been homesick that night, huh? I have always been relaxed, comfortable in your company. Anything beyond this I do not know, so I therefore cannot say. Now, if you will think, you will remember my having said each and every one of these things to you before. Plus, I imagine I have really elaborated more in some of our old conversations, which were all fine. Totaling this all up, the easiest explanation I can give is that I spent my time where I enjoyed being and with whom I enjoyed being with. This also should be self-explanatory. Now, as far as my writing habits go, I don't like to write letters. I'll underline and stand by while I find the next page. Okay, I got the next page. I hate to write letters, underline. Therefore, to even jot a note is harder for me than taking poison. This is no kidding. Once again, there is nothing personal in this statement in any way or form. I know it is the wrong attitude and have tried for many years to overcome it. To some degree I have. However, I still cannot stack up against those of you who can sit down and write to someone in 30 minutes to an hour. Every letter I write, with the exception of one now and then, takes at least one full day. As you can see, yours was building on a month. Time then becomes a major factor, and as you can easily see, coupled with this, major factor, as you can easily see. How's that, huh? Period. Coupled with this, I'm a very fortunate person in that I have many, many wonderful friends who are quite good about writing. So we now not only have a time problem, but practically a physical impossibility. Then after this it goes off to business, and that's where I shoved off doing something. If I remember correctly, the telephone rang and I was called out. So where are we? That's the end of the letter as far as I'd gotten. And I must say, kid, that a lot of thought had gone into it. But the stuff I thought you understood, to me, it all seemed pretty doggone basic. And I thought you were the one who could understand things like that. And I'm quite, I don't know, I'm really a little stymied on this whole thing. I don't know how to explain it. I've done better since I've been out here writing. I've done better writing to you than I've done writing anybody in years and years and years. I've also done well in writing ... and I've done well in writing my parents for a change. Gosh, when I was in college, my parents never even heard from me, or when I was in the Navy, they never have, or since I have been in the Navy, they haven't. This isn't any exception, I know, and this isn't any reason why you shouldn't, or they shouldn't now. However, it's me, it's a weakness, I realize it, and I don't sit down in it and try to get away with it. I actually try to do better, but it's just one of those things that, well, I just don't do too well. I'm sorry, I thought I'd explained it to you before I left so you would understand. The other part about me asking you to write or anything of that sort, now this, to me, actually, and I hate somebody to say this to me, but actually it's almost childish in a way, Wilma. This, I want you to write me a letter, I'll write you a letter, and all this and that. Now, how can I say it? Do you have any friends you write letters to? Do they ask you to write every time you write a letter to them? Or do you sometimes sit down and just feel as though you might like to write somebody a letter and you have a few minutes and you jot that letter off? That's what's appreciated, or that's what I appreciate anyway. And all the time I knew you, from the time I met you, geez, just about the first or second time we were, I guess it'd be the second time we were together. You started this deal, well, when you leave, you're going to be leaving soon, and all this routine and that routine, and talking about forgetting. And I know it was teasing in a way. I also know it was digging in a way, which we've talked about many times since then. And I didn't think it was necessary to sit down and say, yes, I want you to write me a letter. I refuse, as I said in the letter, I still refuse to tell you I want you to write me a letter every day, I want you to write me a letter every week, I want you to write me a letter every month. I want you to write when you want to write, when it's not too much trouble. For when it's not too much trouble, and you write it, then I know what to believe, and I know how you feel, and I know you as an individual. Otherwise, if it's a mechanical thing or something an obligation or something of that sort, I don't know the individual. I don't know how you feel. I don't know anything. And though it's a letter and it takes time to read and it is enjoyable, it's not like getting something spontaneous from somebody else who's interested in you, thinking about you and saying something to you. You aren't a stranger. You're a little bit more than a stranger. And this, if I've in any way this time I explain it to you, I hope you'll try to understand and understand that which I've said in the correct light and not try to read things into it. It just purely breaks down that I want you to do what you want to. I don't want to sit down and say, Wilma, please write to me and this, that, and everything on the sort. I in no way want to lead you on, or anything of that sort. I don't. I want what you do to be what you think, not my thinking for you. Is this clear? I hope so. It's it's a hard thing to put in words, kid. You said, well, I talked about it so much when I was there, and I did talk about it a lot because, well, it was important to me for you to understand, and I thought that you did, but evidently you didn't. Well, anyway, about this thing between you and Dot Dot, you two are like two little girls. Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. The only thing there, I got bawled out, by the way, by some of my friends for the deal of trying to introduce you all. But I looked at it this way. I looked at it purely. Dot Dot's a real wonderful girl. She actually is. Now, whether you like her, or she likes you, or you get along with one another, that's a completely different matter. I've known her for quite a while. She's been a marvelous friend to me, and she just spoils the living devil out of me, as you well know. And, well, she's just the finest friend any person could ever have in this world. And here she is in a strange area. She doesn't know too many people. She's a single girl. And here you are, a girl that I took quite a liking to right off. You're single. You're away from home too, but you know quite a few people. But anyway, you're away from home, and it never hurts to meet somebody new. And gosh, I liked you both, and I just thought it would be real nice. I thought possibly you might enjoy each other's companionship. Well, whether this is true or not, I don't know. And I don't want you to think in any way I was trying to force Dot Dot on you. I don't want Dot Dot to think in any way that I was trying to force you on her. I was just hoping if you met, you might be good friends and enjoy one another and have fun together. But if you don't feel that you should, just act as if anybody else had introduced you to somebody. You either take to them or you don't take to them, and that's about all there is to it. Simple as that, as plain as that, and as cold as that. So, please take this in the right light also. Okay, off we go again. I just stopped to bowl with the boys for a few minutes. They came in the movie, or from playing bingo, I guess, up on the deck, and sitting here playing a little bit of acey-deucey now, and already 5. So I might just, we'll go on. We'll forget everything that's been said and go on to other places. Now, let me see, where are we? If I remember correctly, I know doggone good and well you had a letter when I left Hawaii, and I must have given you about all the information to Hawaii, and then Well, I know I wrote you when I got in Yokosuka too. Uh, let's see. Well, anyway, I'll go on back for a little ways. We'll just say we arrived in Yokosuka. Okay. I had trouble tracing this down, but it ought to come up somewhere near. For some reason, gee whiz, I've lost track of time and days and weeks and almost months. It's really gotten bad. We've been working around the entire week over Saturdays and Sundays at times, and so without your Saturday and Sunday to break up your week, sometimes one day becomes another day and another day becomes another, and if you don't have anything to write the date on, you get lost after a while. So let's go on. We arrived in Yokosuka. Let's see. We came in. Yeah, we got in the area Monday evening, and we anchored out outside, or steamed around outside, I guess it was. And then in the morning, when we had clearance to go into the harbor, we went on in. That's right. We went in on Tuesday and tied up at a pier in there. This was really quite an awakening, because Mr. Winter is out to welcome us in open arms, something which I haven't been used to for quite a while. I always liked the cold, but I want to tell you, it was really cold. You just can't imagine how darn cold it was. We went out and we had a little tiny flurry, very light snow flurry, a little bit of, maybe a little sleet thrown in there. Not much to amount to anything, just to make the deck wet was about all, and also to freeze us. We had a flight deck parade and stood up there in all the fog and tried to see where the devil we were going and all. Then we pulled on in. We got a pilot and went on in the harbor and tied up. We carried on our day's work, and then Liberty went down. For some reason, I can't remember what, but I had some legal work or something going on at the time, and I was pretty well tied up. I didn't get off the ship too much. I think I went off this first week. I only got over the stores on the station to see what they had for sale once or twice. And then only got off once, as a matter of fact, for a couple hours one afternoon. And I only spent, we had a duty while we were there too. I only spent about 2 nights in town out of the whole time. This is amazing. I did go with the club a couple times, but that was about all. Yokosuka is a place where they have these hills. They're small, tiny little mountains, or whatever you want to call them, lining the harbor there. The whole station has a ridge running through it. And these hills are the hills that you heard so much about, possibly, where they had their old intelligence center back during the Second World War. Japanese completely hollowed these things out. And I've heard about it, known people have been here and talked to me about it and all. And I never really realized the degree and extent to which they went in their tunneling and caving and all. But there's an entrance into every hill there, about every 20 or 30 yards. No matter which direction you look at it, there's a entrance that goes back into the thing. Since the war and since we took over the occupation, many of these have been closed up because of unsafe conditions. However, a great majority of them are still being used as air raid shelters, and many of them are being utilized for office space. And it's quite interesting to see them. The station itself is a fairly good size, and they have what they call on the station, they have a wonderful setup for athletics, gymnasiums, and baseball, and everything of that sort. But they also have, what interests us, they have a wonderful club. It's really a beauty. It makes Moffett look like nothing. They have a good old stag bar back in the back, and drinks cost, I think, beer, a great big bottle. Not the small bottles, those great big bottles cost around 20 cents, and all drinks cost 25. This isn't even happy hour. This is normal price time. So whenever we get a chance after working hours, if we didn't have the duty running every third day, we run on over and have a couple beers and maybe dinner over there, and then come on back and get a steak dinner for about $1.20, $1.50, something like that. Real good too. With that's in the main dining room. They got waiters all dressed up and real good orchestra playing. So as you can see, it's more or less a plush layout. It's all maybe 4 or 5 different bars around the place, and a liquor store, and the main dining room, and a cafe, not a quick dining room, so to say, a place where you go to pick up a meal quickly. It's not as fancy or anything like that, but you get the same food, but faster service. no entertainment except for the grill sounds going through. And then they have a little store in there. They have the money exchange there. I guess I haven't been upstairs. It has 2 stories to it. I don't know what's upstairs. They also have a basement, which would be the 3rd story because it's built on a hill. It's open on one side and closed around the other side. Down there they have a barbershop. This is a place to go. For next to nothing, you go in there and you get a shave and a shampoo and a facial and a massage and everything for about $1, $1.50. It's oh, and a haircut too. It's actually ridiculous. And then they have what they call Building A33. Building A33 is a store set up by the station and the government, of course, where the merchants outside come in and display their wares. Naturally, any merchant in there is backed up by the government, and so when you're dealing with them, you have a pretty good idea you're getting a fair price and fairly good merchandise. They have everything you can imagine, from a marvelous display of every type of camera you can imagine, binoculars and silver and chinaware and crystal, different little knickknacks, records, cloth. Oh, I don't know what else, bicycles, sporting equipment, and just about anything you might be interested in getting. A beautiful display of pearl jewelry too, all types of jewelry with pearls. Boy, they put a pearl on anything you can imagine, and everything. Then there you have what they call the regular Navy Exchange. That's called A33 is called Navy Exchange Store number 2. Then they have Navy Exchange Store number 1, which is a small city within itself, serving the entire station. It's like all exchanges. However, it's much larger. It's comprised of several buildings. One of them is quite similar to A33 in having your chinaware and your records and your... They don't have any jewelry in there. However, they do have beautiful watches, and they do have a wider display, larger display of sporting equipment. And they have many household goods, small scatter rugs and tables, spreads, and things of that sort. Then they have a clothing store, which is all by itself. And one end of the first building has a large cafeteria in it. But this clothing store, they have all types of stores with their tailors and all around there. Then they have another part where they have watch repair. This is amazing. You can take a big watch in there, like a chronograph or something of that sort. It normally takes 3 or 4 weeks to have it cleaned. You can go in there with a broken crystal, and they'll put the crystal in. It takes 2 minutes. It costs you maybe 35, 40 cents, something like that. Normally back in the States you wait a couple of weeks for the service, unless you happen to know the jeweler. Then you'd probably have to wait. They have shoe repair and so on and so forth. Everything you can imagine. Then the station's made up of its main buildings and different housing areas and all. And that's about the extent of it, except for the large docks where they have some of the largest cranes in the world. They're actually immense things and quite interesting really to look at. They have your main mode of transportation around is these small cabs. They have the small European type automobiles. And they have what they call the 70-cent cab and 80-cent cab. And I haven't seen any dollar cabs. Well, these are really not dollar, but it'd be 70 yen, 80 yen, and 100 yen. And they all have a standard price on the station. And you pay by the size of the car. Now, a little one like a Volkswagen would be a 3-passenger plus driver, and they're limited and very strictly regulated by the police. That's a 70 yen cab. And then you get into a little large one like, what would be a little bit larger? Oh, I can't think right off. Where you can seat 4 people rather comfortably. In other words, get 3 in the back seat and 1 in front with the driver. Then that's an 80-cent cab. These guys are all lined up along the dock, and so whenever you go anywhere, you run out, or 80 yen, you run out and jump in your cab. You have 3, you'll take one of the 70 yeners and jump in and run over the club, which is possibly about a mile away, I guess, by the curvy roads going around the hills and all. It's a real kick. Also, these guys are just, they're what they're called base cabs. They have a sign, base cab, and they run all over town and out on the station. But they are licensed by the station and have proper insurance. And normally, believe it or not, this is something you can't appreciate unless you ever ride in one of these cabs. They're a little bit safer, too. It is amazing the way those guys bat around. Good Lord. How they ever live. The only thing that keeps them alive is perfect timing and coordination, actually. Of course, they drive on the wrong side of the road, which came as quite a shock to me. It just scares the devil. The guy who gets in the front seat is, boy, that's a death seat without a doubt. Also, I'd say the main mode of transportation here in Japan is not only that cab, that'd be for the foreigners, really, basically, but bicycle, motorcycles, and, of course, foot. There are quite a few cars, but majority of the people you see them walking or see them riding a bicycle or motor scooter or motorcycle. Well, you'd make $1 million if you had a franchise of motorcycles over here or bicycles. These guys are just as crazy on these things. They go down a rutted road wide open. You just can't believe it when you see them going down there. It looks like a race that we'd have normally back in the States. Just swerving in and out and cutting this person off and that person. And just smile. They never get excited. They always seem to be happy. I haven't seen a scowl on a Japanese face yet. They always smile no matter what travel or what hardships they have or worries they have or anything. They are always happy and bright, and enthusiastic, and really enjoyable people as a whole. The ones I've met so far. Now, you've asked me about the little yaller gals. Now, I'll tell you about the little yaller girls. The little yaller gals are just about the cutest things I have ever seen in my life. You just can't imagine how cute and sweet they are. They're just... Even the ugly ones are cute for some reason. I don't know why, but they're really amazing. They are. They're much nicer than I ever expected. And it's amazing how high the percentage runs, too. Naturally, the places we'd go and the girls we'd meet are, possibly in the minority and are the more attractive ones, but still they are really something and most enjoyable to be with. They believe they aren't really very subservient like is commonly believed in the States. They're every bit the individual, and they think for themselves, and they aren't hesitant at all about speaking up. However, what they do, it seems to be so enjoyable, is that they adapt themselves to the men or men that they are around. Within the first couple of minutes that they're with them, they match mood and everything. Whereas back in the States, a man still adapts himself to the woman. Still. And it's getting worse all the time. Adapts to the mood and everything. And I think you'll back me up on it. I don't mean it to be critical, because I like girls, as you well know. I don't mean it to be critical in any way, but they actually do. The girls in the States, the guy has to bow down to a girl in the States. And when she doesn't feel well, he has to be the one to take it, and so on and so forth. But over here, I think that's the difference. These girls don't... You aren't the lord and master by any means whatsoever, that's for sure. But they match the man's mood. And this way, you can relax. If they're interested, if you're down in the dumps, they pull you out of it in 5 or 10 minutes, without a doubt. And they're bright and cheery and enjoyable, and they don't complain. And it's really, well, it's just pleasant all the way around. They're nice kids, and they're attractive as can be. And they just, I don't know, they're just cute as all get out. So that's how little yellow girls are, and I like them, and I think they're just cuter than all get out. Now, we stayed in Yokosuka. We came in Tuesday. We were going to leave Friday, but something came up, some more work to be done around the ship or something, and we left Monday. And we went out to sea Monday, and we stayed out until the following Monday. Then we came in, tied up, and we were there that week, and we left the following Saturday. Oh, no, sick. Saturday? Yeah, last Saturday. And we went on down, and we arrived in Kobe on the following Thursday. Now, Kobe is a great big commercial port. Gosh, it's amazing. A huge thing. There are all kinds of ships from all countries around and all. They don't have a naval station right there at Kobe, so we anchor in the main port of the town. And the city is quite a large. I meant to go back to, I'll go back to Yokosuka. Yokosuka is a very small, it's a big town is what it is. It's a big little town. But Kobe is quite a large city. I think the population of Kobe and surrounding area runs up somewhere around 1 million people. It's quite an industrial center. They have the largest steel mill located in that area and one of the largest harbors. And general construction and growth in the area is quite high for the Japanese area. Plus they have many extremely attractive buildings which are relatively new and modern. Now, to go on, the girly-sans down in Kobe speak better English, but they aren't as nice as the girls up north. Not at all. They're still very attractive girls, but it's a completely different setup down there than it is up around Yokosuka. Naturally, Yokosuka area is a service area, whereas Kobe is not a service area, and so it has an attraction for the girls from all different parts of Japan, where Kobe wouldn't have the attraction. However, they have several real nice bars there in Kobe. One of them is called the King's Arms. This seems to be the focal point of all entertainment and evenings spent out. It's an Englishman settled over there, and he opened this place, and he keeps it, that's the name, King's Arms, and he runs it like a pub, more or less. There's a picture of the Queen and everything all over the place. It's real enjoyable, real nice little tavern. Purely on the up and up, no house at all. He has a couple girl-sons working for him back there, just cute. One of them is one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen. She is just pretty as all get out. And very nice kid. And you play darts and have good steak and a lot of good beer, and that's about the extent of it. From Kobe, we stayed in Kobe from Thursday until Sunday, and then Sunday we shoved off from Kobe, supposedly heading south down around Okinawa and going on down and into the Philippines. I think we're going to Subic Bay to arrive there around the 19th of March. However, 2 days ago, we got a dispatch back. We had some trouble with this ship. Just, no real trouble, but some things that had to be taken care of it. And there was a change in our operations, and instead of proceeding down to the Philippines, we're just operating this area around Okinawa and on up in southern Japan. And we're going to return to Yokosuka for another week. Now, that'll be, instead of going to Subic on the 19th, we'll be going into Yokosuka on the 19th. We'll remain there for, I'd say, the rest of the week, and possibly leave on the weekend. They really use their head on this thing. The way it breaks down is that we're in port during the week, then we shove off on Saturday or Sunday, which makes the weekend a work day, because you might just as well work. Whereas when you're in port, if you're when the weekend comes up, they can't very well make you work. They could, of course, but it doesn't break down too well. That's how it all stacks up. When I was up in Yokosuka the second time, Tom has some friends there, and he very nicely asked me to go along with him and also Don Smith to join him with these friends, and they took us down to a little fishing village. This is sort of off the beaten track. There's they have big fish markets there. You'll see these tunas weighing a couple 100 pounds and all laying all around. And being off the beaten track, it's more of the normal culture of the country, and so we got to see little country towns and all down that area and had a most enjoyable day. And then when we were down in Kobe on Saturday, the Saturday before the Sunday that we left, we had a tour up to Takarazuka. And Takarazuka? Yeah, Takarazuka. Now this is, if you read James Michener's book, you'll remember him talking about the famous Takaraskan showgirls. These are those famous geishas. They have all-girl casts and everything, and marvelously trained. We went up there by bus, a hair-raising experience to say the least. Saw the entire area. It's a play. They have a little amusement park there and all, but the big attraction is their theater, which is quite large. We went to the show, saw the entire show, which lasted for about 4 hours. 2 different plays. One was a musical fantasy, and the other one was a light dramatic. It was actually amazing. I've never seen any staging in the States to match it. It's well, it's just marvelous, the different staging effects that they put forth, the lighting and everything of that sort. The girls are wonderful actresses, without a doubt. And the thing that always bothered me is seeing a female play a male part. However, well, it came as a great surprise, because after about the first 5 or 10 minutes, you didn't realize that they were girls anymore. They played their parts so well. Then they had a regular rocket line, the regular chorus line. Those girls were wonderful. About 40 girls in it, I guess. And they had some singers and different things. The whole production was extremely well done, and I don't think there was one of us that went there who wasn't completely fascinated through the entire show. So that's about the extent of my travels thus far, and as things stand right now, I'll be headed, as I told you, I'll be headed on back into Yokosuka on the 19th. Well, we'll spend another week from there. We don't know what's going to happen. I imagine we'll go on down to Hong Kong, but I can't be too sure. So, I'm going to talk on until this tape runs out, but I'm asking you, I'm sending one of my big hi-fi tapes, you stinker, and I'm asking you to return it. If you want, I know darn good and well you don't have a tape, but I figured you probably could get one around work there fairly easily. And so I'd appreciate it if, when you play this thing, if you'd be real nice and record the backside back to me and send it back real soon, because it's one of my tapes that I want to record some music on. This I would really appreciate. And also, since you got the tape there, it's no excuse for not talking to me for a little while. I know I'd appreciate it a lot. Now, you can record on 3 3/4 too if you want to talk a long time. The only reason I didn't was because I just don't have the time. Oh, I was talking about this time deal. I got assigned as we've had a job change, which made me electronics officer. I'm still carrying legal, but I'm transferring that to Norm Dean as soon as I have a chance to. And on top of this, I got made a doggone trial counsel for one of the court-martials on board, and I now have one of the ship's company's court-martials. Trying to fly, trying to work on that other stuff that we have. Trying to run special exercises out here, and trying to take care of legal still, and trying to take care of a division, and then on top of that, trying to get this court-martial together. I'm going completely off my rocker. Well, it's just gotten to a disgusting point now, actually, because they had a tremendous investigation here on board ship, and evidently nothing came out of it. They got a lot out of it, but they didn't write any of it down, and it's been about 2 or 3 months since they had this thing, so the case is real late. Therefore, we're the ones that are hurting, because all the boys have gotten together and figured out their own story. So what do you have when they sit down and figure out their own story? You don't have anything. Not a doggone thing. So there I am sitting with nothing, actually. A darn thing to go on. I don't know what to do or where to do it or how to do it, because there's nothing there. So we're having to run our own investigation, get this thing out of the way. Naturally, we have a time limit to do it in, and you can't do these other things, and yet you got to do the other things. So it's getting to be, and you know how much I like this anyway. I despise it. So it's getting to be a pain all the way around the block. Well, she's getting down low now, sweetie, so I'm going to have to sign her off here shortly. Anyway, it's about rack time. We have a special exercise allowed to go off anytime after midnight. I want to get a little bit of sleep in. So I hope you will accept this in lieu of a letter. And I will try, as soon as I get this court-martial out of the way, I'll be back on my writing and try to do a little bit better. And I hope you do understand what I said in the first part and don't misconstrue it in any way. And I sure hope everything's going well for you, that you're feeling fine and work's going real well, and hope your car's holding up well for you. I know you must be getting a kick out of it. It actually sounded like the perfect buy to me. I can't, just everything you've told me about in your letter just sounds like it's just about ideal. So I have very little doubts whether you have any trouble with it. I think it'll probably work out just perfectly for what you want to do around there. I think you're real sensible in getting something like that, as to opposed to getting a new car or a recent model, because actually what you probably paid for this car, you'd lose in well, you'd lose that whole amount of money in 2 years on a newer car just from depreciation, whereas here you can lose it and you still have the car, and well, if you lost the car altogether, you wouldn't lose as much money as you'd lose if you kept a newer one for 2 or 3 years. So all in all, I think you used your head, and sure hope you're pleased with it and that everything works out real well. All the boys here, Soul Ready 5 has been quite busy recently, without a doubt. Boy, we've been raising all kinds of heck and having all kinds of fun. Been bad, just bad and ornery as we can. But we're all speaking to each other, which this far on the trip is quite amazing. You have no idea either. Boy, old iron bucket of bolts, you get tired of being on it after a while. So when we get in town, we have bigger and better parties than you can imagine. Well, the tape's about ready to run out now, so I'm going to sign off for now, Wilma. When the folks really appreciate getting your letters, they really do. And my mother just told me I got a letter from her today, naturally, 6 as a matter of fact. God bless her soul, and she told me that.
Recording. Honestly, Bob, this is probably the biggest problem of my life right now. The machine I'm using is a VM. Really quite a nice setup. I'm not too familiar with working the controls, so you'll have to forgive me if I make a lot of errors. I don't know how to edit this thing, so I'm just going to record it as I feel it, and I hope you understand that, believe me, I am a nervous wreck. I haven't recorded since dramatic art class, which was way back when. If I get any more gray hair, I'm sure it'll come today with this recording to you. Gee, your tape to me, Bob, was beautiful, and I certainly appreciate your kindness. It's one of the nicest things among many that you've done for me. The time and the effort you put into your dissertation on your travels, your trips, the kids, your legal problems, the whole works, I just more than appreciate it. But did you give me a good idea? You wrote me this letter, which I understood very clearly. I think I did, at least. I didn't take any of it sarcastically. I enjoyed every word of it, which I always do. And I know it's awfully hard for you to write letters. You told me that you didn't like to write letters, and this I understand. But back to that good idea. I, too, have written you a letter, and, therefore, planning on reading it to you, and I hope when I do that it'll explain things more clearly to you than what I can put across in a letter to you. It's extremely hard for me to get across a point in a letter to a person without possibly infringing on their thought toward me or my thought toward them. Therefore, here we go. So, actually, you should sit down, have a cigarette, a cup of coffee, and be ready for anything, because exactly this is what you are going to get on tape from one WJS. And before we get into this tape business, I would very definitely like to have this for my own collection, although I don't have a machine. But I'd like to be able to keep the tape, so if possible, why don't you listen to my side, send back the tape, I'll rush up to Stanford Shopping Center, buy you a new tape, send it to you, and we can converse back and forth. I think this is really fine. In fact, much better than writing letters to you. But on to the great epistle. This is it. Believe me, I was dead tired when I wrote it. For some unknown reason, every time I hear from you, I don't sleep well. Therefore, I jump up early in the morning, have to write to you right away, and this is the way we start. This was written yesterday morning at, believe it or not, 7:30 a.m. First line, early bird. A what? Check that time. Dear Bob, I'm sure this won't be much of an epistle to you, and will no doubt be very poorly typed. I was sitting up in bed with a typewriter across my legs, and needless to say, I don't find this position a suitable choice for a typing stand. But as you can see by the time, again I say 7:30 a.m., it is fairly early in the morning, and the Mockbees are snoring away their last few winks of sleep before the hustle-bustle of a new day. I envy them their ability to sleep. Thus, to avoid noise, I closed all the doors, and I'm sure you're familiar with how close it is to their place, leading to their abode, and decided to start this letter to you. Thank you so much, Bob, for your very nice letter, which I received upon my return to 510 from work last night. I can understand your dislike for writing letters, and therefore always elated when I do receive a letter from you. This next paragraph, you and I are probably going to have trouble the rest of our natural day unless you understand this completely. But anyway, please get this across. I've been trying and trying, but I haven't actually explained it to you as I meant it to be. In fact, I've ignored mentioning the subject. But here we are on this phone bill again. Bob, I paid that bill not long, I shouldn't say that, a few days before you left Mountain View for your big 6 months cruise. And if I'd wanted you to pay this bill, I would have asked you for the money. I'd planned on buying you something for a going-away gift, but to tell you the truth, I honestly didn't know what you wanted. Therefore, the night that you called your parents, I try not to listen to your conversation, but I could tell. I mean, the bathroom is extremely close to the living room and the phone sitting there. And I realized how much pleasure you got out of talking to your parents, and to me this is very important. I get just as much pleasure, I'm sure, as you do when I call my parents, and it sounds like they're right there in the room, and there's sort of a homesickness there, I presume, every time I call them. In fact, this is coming up Monday night, and I look forward to talking to them on the phone, but yet at the same time, I always hang up with that emptiness, which I think everybody feels to a certain degree, because when Dad or Mom, when I talk to them, I mean, it's exceptionally emotional, you can understand, and back to your phone bill, to me it was a pleasure to pay it for you. It's something I wanted to do for you, I enjoyed doing for you, and as long as you felt so much pleasure from talking to your toots and pop, to me this is the most important thing. Money, who has a lot of that, but nevertheless, if I couldn't afford to pay for it, Bob, I certainly wouldn't, you know that. And so, let's not be talking about the phone bill any longer. Consider it my pleasure to have paid it for you. And as long as you enjoy talking to your parents, the only pay or reciprocation that I can ask for is that you did enjoy it. Therefore, you have paid the phone bill in full, and I don't want any more discussion on this matter. Understand? And if I hear this one more time, it's just like this business we used to be together all the time about, oh, the minute you leave, you'll forget me, I just know you will, etc. And this will go into detail much later. But this actually was paragraph 3, and I've completely rearranged it because now I'm able to talk to you, which I think is much nicer than writing letters. I think it gets the point across much clearer. So therefore, please, no more mention of phone bill. It was a pleasure to pay it. I enjoyed it immensely. Therefore, end, stop, paragraph, etc. Now, new paragraph. Oh yeah, this letter writing business. This is becoming quite a problem with us, isn't it? It's strange that this paragraph ties in so much with what you said to me on the tape. And I'm surprised because I hadn't received your tape yet when I wrote this, but oh, terrific. Yeah, speaking of this great mind business. Well, I'm going to try and read this one, Bob, and I'm not going to play around with all of it, but I will, of course, change a few things in it because of being able to talk to you. So here goes. I have never been one to write letters to my correspondents on the basis of you write to me and I'll write you. My heavens, I'm sure that if I felt that way, I wouldn't be writing to as many people as I do. I get a lot of replies, of course. I mean, and over a period of time, maybe someone will pick up my letter and say, oh, gee, I should write to Wilma, which they do. Well, this is the way I feel also. I don't, come on now, if I'm going to write to you, you're going to write to me, and if you don't write, I'm not going to write. This to me is nothing. But I realize I, too, have a definite weakness, and I put in the paragraph, or in the margin, I borrowed this from you, I hope you don't mind, by not writing to certain individuals more than I do, but I feel that I should keep in contact with my friends and try to write each one as often as possible. So to sum up this paragraph, as long as you do enjoy hearing from me, Bob, that's all I ask, and I'd be more than happy to write to you, and I do enjoy writing to you. Well, of course, my little secret, which I have written down here someplace, is something that I try not to reread my letters, and sometimes I'm sure I am sarcastic without meaning to be. But I'm afraid that if I read these letters, then I'll go back and I'll take out this and take out that, and this letter will never get mailed. So actually, I've heard from my parents and from my friends, just write it as you're talking to them, which is something I try to do, but believe me, it doesn't always come out that way. And so to your letter, you mentioned sending me a tape. This is the top of page 2. I didn't receive your tape at the same, at the same time. Nervous? Oh, not too much. At the same time I received your letter, which was Friday night, so of course I am anticipating the clop-clop of the Pony Express rider today. As I said, this was written at 7:30 in the morning. And I'm going up to the shopping center in Stanford today, and if the tape comes in, which it did, I have one of my friends in the record business up there, and I'll have the opportunity to play your tape. But anyway, I'm really extremely sorry about your birthday card. My lack of maturity was showing without a doubt. But I do hope that your birthday was a pleasant one and a day of liberty. How about that? Sweet kid. I was going to send you a box of goodies. I mean, everybody does this, let's face it. It's not out of the goodness of my heart. It's something I wanted to do for you. But you're not too much on the sweet eating business. Thank God, I just don't bake well at all. And the times I had you there for dinner, I thought, oh, what if I baked a pie? This kid would never come back, you know? Which I didn't. And luckily, as you told me, you don't care that much for sweets. Pardon me, I've got to take a drink of coffee to steady my nerves. So anyway, I called Sharon. This was, well, before your birthday. And we talked about you, of course, and Pat, etc. And Sharon said that she was going to send you a box of goodies for, not a present actually, but a thoughtfulness to you for your birthday. So I asked her what she was sending, and something about a banana nut bread and some cookies or something of that sort, and some candy. And actually, I had the same type of thing in mind. So after she got through telling me what she was sending you, I thought, well, why send 2 boxes? And actually, this is probably a lazy way of doing it, but it was, I got out of it, which is really very bad, because I did want to remember you on your birthday, not with just with a card. My heavenly days, I mean, let's face it. That's why I can't understand why I didn't write you a note. I can, but I'd much rather talk to you in person to explain to you about this one letter I wrote, which every time I think about how mushy it became, kind of worried me. I just didn't expect to hear from you unless you were going to tell me to go to, pardon the expression, hell, etc. But anyway, you did boo-boo when you were at my place. Around Christmas time, I tried to get out of you your shirt size. Remember when you were going home? It was the night we were sitting there on the floor, which is our usual place of business, shall I say, and let's see, now what was I trying to tell you? Oh yeah, I was asking you what shirt size you were wearing as you were writing down these items that you had to pack up and take home, etc., for your mother to clean, but you'd never tell me the shirt size. But anyway, this shirt that you wore, in fact, I think it was that same evening, Bob. No, it was the, pardon me, I beg your pardon, it was the night that I introduced you to the mock piece. This red and black striped shirt that you had on, I think it's sort of a wool jersey long sleeve. Anyway, I found it most attractive, and you looked exceptionally nice in it. You always look nice. but I wanted to buy something on that order for you. So, in Mountain View, there's a place called the Yorkshire Men's Shop. And I just have one of these crazy old women's whims to buy men's clothing. I don't know why. I've always enjoyed it. I find it much easier to buy for a man than for myself. Anyway, back to your birthday. I wanted so badly to send you this shirt. It's very similar to the red and black stripe that you already have, but these came in a variety of color assortments, and gee, Bob, they're just gorgeous. And every time I see the darn shirt, I think of you. It looks so much like you. In fact, I had to go in there the other night. My father's having a birthday this Monday night, 31st, which is when I'm going to call them. And the shirt was right out in plain view again, and of course I thought of old Mink. This is the shirt for him. And had I had your size with me, if you'd ever tell me what it is, you great big handsome hunk of man, I would be more than happy to buy this shirt for you as a belated birthday gift. Really. Let's talk about this sometime too. Oh yes, on your tape. No, I beg your pardon. I haven't heard your tape while I'm writing this. No mention of the lotus blossoms of Japan in your letter. Haven't you met any? Aha, I'll bet. Or don't you find them attractive? This I'd like to hear also. You mentioned getting rid of this legal job of yours. Now, what are you going to get squared away in? At least maybe I will hear from you more often. I know you hate to write letters. I remember a few stories you told me from Moffett Field about your legal problems. Oh, that kid, why didn't he run down the street and forget it, you know? But anyway, actually, I thought your job sounded quite interesting, although somewhat time-consuming. Say, dear heart, this we have got to settle right here now. I sent you those pictures for your information only, not for your retention. Please, Bob, send them back to me. That small one of you standing there by baby is the one that I had enlarged for your mother, your uncle, and myself. Oh, it adorns my bureau beautifully, needless to say. But I haven't been able to find a frame for it as yet. I'm still looking. Never give up. That's a Sullivan trait. Anyway, it sort of gripes me to think that you're so obstinate about having your picture taken. Actually, why? You know? I just reread a paragraph of yours. Oh, yes, how many letters have you received from me? Good night. Seemed like all I was doing was writing, you know? And of course I wasn't getting any reply. You hadn't received my mail. You hadn't landed here or something of that sort. But there for a while, Bob, I started out real well, I thought. Here's a conceit coming out again. But I was writing to you every night, and my letters were quite long, I'll admit, for 2 days, and then poof, you ran out of conversation. And I just couldn't see writing and saying, "Dear Bob, how are you?" which I should have done, I'm sure. I mean, just the thought, the remembrance to me is something wonderful. But anyway, this letter, which I am taping, I'm going to send it to you also, just so that you can get some sequence out of the tape and the letter. But this letter should make about number 14 to you. Oh yes, here we go again. Gosh, I sound so sarcastic, and I certainly don't mean to at all. But I don't remember writing that I was ever too busy to write to you. I know a few times I just had a minute or so to jot down a few lines, and then after writing to you for over a week each evening, my letters of course dropped down to only a couple of pages. Good night. The same thing happens every day at work, and I just couldn't keep the same old conversation day after day after day. But anyway, I actually realize I should have written to you more. I understand that you're definitely busier than I will probably ever be. But how did you do on the handwritten letters? Pretty poor, isn't it? Mixed in with my shorthand, my backhand printing, my handwriting, I am the world's worst. Probably this is why I don't write to people as often as I should. This typewriter business, I personally don't like typewritten letters. They seem so cold, something to that effect. And a handwritten letter, I don't know. It's well, anyway. But I tried this handwriting the other day at work, and I am surprised how many characters I've forgotten how to write. Honestly, it's embarrassing. I hope I never get in a position that I have to use my scribbles so that some people will understand what I'm trying to say, because I can't read them myself. In fact, my own parents, and I'm sure they love me dearly, can't read my writing. Therefore, practically every letter that I've ever written to them, and I try to write them once a week, is always typewritten. So, anyway, how did you do on my handwriting? Boy, this is a goodie. After reading your letter explaining what I wrote to you, if this makes sense, my moods must be extremely radical, and I readily understand your confusion and fascination when you read my letters. This is another reason I don't reread them, Bob, before I mail them out. I think it best to write them, send them out, and forget them, until I get replies. Anyway, if I ask you, Bob, to write me of your feelings toward me, I sincerely owe you an apology. To me, this is in very poor taste and unforgivable. I personally don't feel that anyone, such as me, should have to ask someone else what they think of me. I mean, it's just social protocol, shall we say? Anyway, this is something that should come from within and should only be said when the time is appropriate and when the feeling is beyond reproach. And I sincerely hope you accept my apology. My lack of maturity leaves me with only one thought. It's just about time I grew up. Let's face it, I'm getting older. You should see this gray hair. Woo! Well, Bob, time passes on, and I think I shall finish up a few of my weekly household projects and be off to shopping. I shall leave this letter open for now in hopes of receiving your tape, which I stopped and I got up and, let's see, I had breakfast and I did the dishes and I dusted. Oh, yes, and I called Sharon to tell her that I had received a letter and I conveyed your message, how much you appreciated the box of goodies. She was real tickled, of course, that I had heard from you. Oh, Pat sent her a mink stole for her birthday, which she claims is just gorgeous. But anyway, back to Sharon. We're going to go out to dinner sometime in the very near future if we find the time. I presume Pat's told you that she's working at the Bank of America there in Mountain View, and from all indication she thoroughly enjoys her job and the people that she works with, which I think is real fine. I'm real sorry that she didn't get in over to Sylvania, because I would have liked to have introduced her to some of the gals that I've met. They're really a great bunch of kids. Oh, so I go back to your letter and it's 11 o'clock a.m. I'm still up and at them. I'm surprised I haven't been back in bed yet. This is something I never do. But anyway, your tape did come in. That horse of that postman was right there on the button. So I'm off to listen, and I'll finish the later upon my return. Bye for now. Well, of course, I went shopping, and I splurged. I bought a hat, a pair of shoes, a purse, earrings, necklace, pearl, Japan, pearl necklace, gloves, etc. I'm sure you find this very dull, telling you what I buy all the time. But anyway. Oh yes, this is page 4, and it's later that same evening. This was last night. I have heard your tape. Oh, and actually, I'm just thrilled to death with it. But anyway, the next paragraph is, please, Bob, don't misunderstand anything which will be in the next few pages or on this tape. But if you don't like me as the individual I am, and you won't like me with a new personality, and I want you to know me as I am, and not someone who's trying to impress you with what I want you to like about a person. I want you to know me as I am, to accept me. So, you can tell me to go to H-E, period. I'm a D-A, you-know-what, dumb woman, or anything you like. But there's one thing we may as well discuss, and I find this a most appropriate time to do so. This name crept into your conversation quite frequently, and thus my reaction. Boy, was I surprised to hear about this 2 little girls business. I don't know what you have heard about our behavior or anything of the sort. Dot came over for coffee one evening, which I'm sure I wrote you about, as she probably did also. We had a very nice chat, and she left. Jeannie was there that evening, and we all sat around and talked about the school system in California, traveling, the people we know, the people we like, the wonderful friends we've made in our travels, etc. But anyway, she left, and I didn't hear from her now for 2 or 3 weeks. No, wait, I beg your pardon, it wasn't that long, Bob. I let 3 or 4 days go by, and I thought possibly she'd call me. Well, she never did. I don't know if she was tied up with something, she was too busy, she had other plans or what. So I gave her a call. Oh, I know, when she was over that Sunday night, we had planned to go to the city to see a movie. See, I can't even think of the name of it. But anyway, so we were supposed to call each other, that was it, if we found out when the movie was playing, etc. So anyway, I found out that it was down in San Jose, and we wouldn't have to go all the way up the city. So I called her and I said, well, how about tentative plans for going to this movie sometime? And suggested a week or so on a Sunday night or something like this. And I said, well, fine, I'll let you know, and she was going to let me know if anything came up that we couldn't make it. So then I think the Saturday, on a Saturday afternoon I gave her a call, and we thought about getting together, etc. And I said, well, I have an indefinite plan to go to Carmel tomorrow. Of course, we've had rain for months, this liquid sunshine in California. Everybody knows about it. Everybody is getting tired of it. And believe me, today the sun is shining, and it's quite a shock. I've been wearing sunglasses in the house. But anyway, yes, we made plans that I would call her the following day, which would be a Sunday, to tell her the time of the movie, when where we would meet, and when we would go, etc. Well, anyway, the plans came off that I did go to Carmel, but I had planned to come back early and go to a movie that evening with Well, I didn't get back in time, but I had left a message with Jean Mockbee that if I don't return by 4, please give a call and tell her that I was sorry I wouldn't be back from Carmel, and therefore to either go on to the movie with someone else or let me hear future plans from her for the two of us attending the movie. Well, anyway, she never called. And, oh yes, Jeannie did call for me, which I thought was very kind. And she left a message with a fellow that answered the phone, whom I presume was Joe's husband, and he said that he would relate the message to Oh boy, are you going to hate this next line. Woo! It's something I shouldn't discuss with you. I have no right to even mention it. But as I said previously, the name crept into your conversation quite frequently, and that's my reaction. Bob, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, this kid loves you, let's face it. She doesn't come out and say it in so many words. Her actions show it. The conversation shows it. Just everything. I just can't describe it. It's a stupid woman's intuition that I have, but I know she loves you. I mean, certainly there's a friendship there. It's one that I hope will never be broken. But without a doubt, this kid has had it. I mean, you just don't, as you put it, and I quote, spoil a person rotten, unquote, unless there's something there. It just isn't friendship. It becomes more than that, Bob. And I don't know how to explain it to you. The reaction I got when mentions your name, when she talks about you. She just lives for the word Bob, let's face it. And I'm sorry if you won't accept it as such, or you try not to. I don't know. As I said, I shouldn't have mentioned it, but it's something I wanted to tell you. It's my personality coming out again. It's my character. As I said, I have no right to discuss this with you at all. It's none of my business. Let's drop it. Forget it. Fine. My personal reaction to Gad, she's tiny, Bob. I swear, I feel like a moose when I stand beside that girl. So, of course, I try to sit all evening while she flittered around. Oh, yes, we had coffee, and Jean Mortimer dropped in, and she brought us some very nice cake, and we sat there and chatted. But she is small, I swear. She's pleasant, congenial, good conversationalist. She's interesting, educated, and nice. So, let's go back to this two little girls business. What do you mean? Well, there I go, another rung on your ladder. Down another rung on your ladder. On to the next subject. This I mean most sincerely, Bob. Your tape was simply gorgeous. I hate like the devil to send it back to you, but as you suggested, I am taping the other side. I haven't taped anything since dramatic arts way back when. But anyway, if there's a possibility at all, I would like to keep this tape. So would you send it back to me, and I'll be more than happy to buy you a new long plate tape, which I will send to you immediately upon arrival of this one which we've already taped. Of course, being such a darn sentimentalist, needless to say, I sat there in the store and cried during parts of the tape. I could be seen, I was sure, by everyone entering that front door of the Stanford record shop. But needless to say, I wasn't at all ashamed or embarrassed by my tears. I felt so humbled to have a friend such as you, and just to be able to share in your adventures while on cruise. Actually, the tape is excellent, and it sounded as though you were sitting right in front of me. Truly wonderful, this age we live in, isn't it, Bob? And actually, I want to thank you with all my heart for your thoughtfulness and taking the time to record the tape and send it to me. I asked the fellow in the store yesterday if I could have it recorded on a regular record so that I could keep it for my own collection at home. But he said that by the time they switched all these gizmos, etc., and made a record of it, it wouldn't be very good, and I probably wouldn't be able to understand too much of it, and he said the expense, and etc., it isn't worth it. Therefore, this is the reason I would like this tape back. How about that, Simply, I say, Bob, thank you so much for sending me the tape. Honestly, some of your gestures of thoughtfulness just completely overwhelm me. I mean, I think so much of people who are thoughtful, and you're one of the tops, believe me. My goodness. Oh, yes, just came to me. Do you know, yesterday I'm dashing madly up to the store. The Mockbees are shopping all over, waiting for me to listen to your tape, which I thought was real fine that they realized it was something personal, and I wanted to listen to by myself. So they rushed off and did the rest of their shopping, and I sat in the shop, as I said, by myself, listening to the record. Oh, this kills me. While I'm doing this, people, I'm sitting in this little room, but in this room they have all these new machines, tape recorders, hi-fi sets, etc. And the customers are coming back in the room, you know, and they're looking through all this, and here you are telling me about the Geishy girls and that type of thing. But I wasn't embarrassed. I was just so tickled with the record. Or the tape. I don't even know how many people came in. But anyway, oh, yeah, back to this. I have a friend with a tape recorder, which is where I'm sitting now. This Penny from work has been quite ill for the last 3 months, and her friend, who is a lieutenant commander at Moffett, has the tape recorder. Penny heard my plight of trying to tape back to you, and I wanted to listen to the tape again, so she said, gee, come on up. So here I'm sitting at 3:15 on a Sunday afternoon taping this off to you. So anyway, I was going to give Penny a buzz tomorrow and see if I can record at her place. Tremendous, strange. I haven't used that word since your departure. Webster defines it as large, remember? Your mother probably thinks I'm about the worst correspondent she's ever picked up in her many, many days of writing to your friends. You think I'm bad and not writing, do you, Bob? I have owed your mother a letter for 2 solid weeks, and to me this is something most inexcusable. If I receive a letter, I like to sit down maybe that night or the next day and get that letter back to the person. I don't like to keep them hanging around for a couple of weeks. I just like promptness with correspondence, and I feel that they should receive the same from me. So, oh, your mother, I must write to that woman, which I'm going to do this evening, by the way. But anyway, she is a tremendous person, without a doubt. She is one of the most wonderful people that I've had the opportunity to know through our letters, and I wish it were personal, that I have met her as a person. I feel that I am getting to know her through the letters. I feel a part of of her activities, your father's activities, and they're real wonderful people. I envy you, actually. My parents are just as grand as the next, but you certainly have jewels, I tell you, which you know. But anyway, I do hope when I go home for Christmas, and by the way, I think Jean Mortimer is planning on going with me. As you know, I have quite a few friends down in D.C. that I used to work with when I was living there, and I plan on running down to see them, and I hope I have the opportunity to meet your parents at that time, because they just simply must be the grandest people alive. But why did they throw away the mold and the pattern when your mother was born? I'd certainly like to have some of her rub off on me. She's an exceptional woman. I'm still reading parts of this letter to you, Bob, so if it sounds like there's some pause and hesitation, it's because I'm throwing so much more in than what I've written to you. Yes. Now we get to the tape, and you were telling me about the little lotus blossoms of Japan. Wonderful. I think this cruise is such a fine opportunity for you fellas. Yeah, I did read Mishner's book about the Gishi girls and envied you the chance to see them. In this movie, Sayonara, they actually the female lead, the gal in there, is one of these Gishi girls from the place you were telling me about. And oh, the staging, the production, the lighting, everything, it's beautiful. And I can imagine how much more enjoyable it is to be there in person and to watch all this. I'm just sorry that I probably won't have the opportunity to do so in my lifetime. But I still have hopes of traveling abroad someday. This one a beautiful creature that you met is evidently the potential yellow girl you might bring back to the States. Let's see, from all that you said about the gals, I'm sort of on your side on that, Bob. I actually wish the American female would adjust her life to the male. And I personally feel that we of the weaker sex, at least we used to be the weaker sex. I'm so darn fat, 125 pounds of pure fat and lard, although I am trying to cut down on my calories. But anyway, I do wish they would accept the male, and not as lord and master in that type of meaning, but to appreciate what this masculine hunk of male gives up for the American woman. I mean, it's just something that we don't realize. We're not brought up in this manner, and it's a shame. Gee, Jean Mortimer and I have had some darn many conversations on this same topic, and even if we are the best of friends, she has a little different idea on the subject than I do, which is only normal. I mean, everyone can't think the same manner. But I do envy this Japanese trait that these gals have. I personally feel that we should be the weaker sex and remain as such. But, on to the tape. Your description of the ports you have visited are beautifully recorded and gave me a much clearer picture of where you are and what you are doing. I should elaborate more on this subject, but I think I shall play the tape again and take a few notes in shorthand for future reference. Or should I say future letters? This I did, Bob, but I tell you, I'm trying to read back this shorthand, and it doesn't look too good. I must close this unfortunate masterpiece, and hope you will understand that I felt no sarcasm while writing this jewel or taping it to you. And I'll probably jot off another quickie to you tonight when please, I've got to write to your mother, after I write to your mother. Write when you can, Bob. I always enjoy hearing from you. Give my regards to all the kids that I met, Pat and Jack, and all those two nice kids that helped me with the dishes the first night I met you up at the skipper's place. I don't think I'll ever forget them. They were just a grand bunch of kids. And all the other fellows that you introduced me to, and their wives, and all of your friends were just real fine. I thoroughly enjoyed the pleasure of getting to meet them. And I'm sorry that I didn't have more time to get to know Margie before she left. And speaking of Margie, how is she doing with her pregnancy? The baby should be just about due when? In August or September, something like that? Anyway, Bob, if you think about it, would you mind sending me her address? I'd certainly like to drop her a card just to say hello and ask how she's getting along, etc. Closing paragraphs of letter. May God continue to watch over you always. And believe me, I mean it sincerely. I always say a prayer for you every night for your safety and your speedy return. That ends the letter. I am going to send this to you because, as I said, while taping this, I've thrown in a few quips, etc., that I didn't put in the letter. And I thought perhaps you could get some sequence out of the two together if you could read the letter as I'm taping this. Let's see, this Yokosuka, boy, do I mess that up. Every time I say that word, it always comes out like Yokosuka or something of that sort. But your personal impressions were very well done. You have a crazy mixed-up sexy voice on tape. It's excellent. I envy you. It's always such a surprise to me when I listen to myself on record or on tape, how strange my voice sounds. Nothing like what I expected, believe me. No, but this gal, Penny, where I am right at the present time taping this to you, I let her listen to the part, which I hope you don't mind, about Japan, because she's very interested. She also has a friend who's over there at the present time, and she wanted to hear something about this Yokosuka. So she also commented that you have an extremely nice voice for recording, and Your diction is excellent. Needless to say, I don't know how much of this tape you edited, but if you edited it at all, and even if you didn't, it was beautifully done. Let's see. Oh, yes, when you were telling me about this bus trip over the mountains, excuse me, this is the time that the fellow in the store, the Stanford Record Shop, came in, and he heard about Yokosuka and Kobe, etc. And he said, oh my God, tell him he's a chicken. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I rode across those mountains. And he goes into this long dissertation about his time in Japan. Here I am trying to listen to this tape, and he's rattling on. And he said, oh, where is he stationed now, and what is he doing, and what grade is he, etc. So anyway, this is another reason that I wanted to play this record over by myself, because this kid kept charging in. Say, darling, how are you doing with the language barrier? Or are you using that built-in pucker instead? Oh, Bob, I can just imagine. You're such a cutie. You keep mentioning the King's Arms on your tape, and you call it somewhat of a pub. Does this mean you're drinking beer? Aha, what happened to the scotch? I'll have to send you a bottle of that sometime. No, I'm sure actually the scotch over there is probably just as good as what we have in the States. Has Pat enjoyed any of that real Japanese sake yet? Warm, of course. Something else in here. You mentioned about the ship, and you said, don't get excited. Good night. What happened? I mean, let's face it, I want to hear this stuff. I don't want to spread rumors after you write to me or tape it to me, but I would like to know. I mean, if there's something going on, tell me. Fine? Ready, 5 are speaking to each other. How about that? Oh, you crazy cats, I swear. Yeah, it's something. I know I lived in a dorm once myself. Not a dorm. I lived at the YWCA when I first came out here 5 years ago. And I tell you, gals, when they get together, there are some that probably get in the same position. We get tired of the same sex all the time, which I can imagine you do the same when you go out on cruise for 4 or 5 days. And then you get back to those little yellow gals, as you put it. But anyway, everything over there sounds just lovely, and I certainly do envy you your trip. But I think it's the most wonderful thing that could possibly happen to you. Gee, there's nothing more exciting to me than just the thought of being able to get out, to meet different people, to find out about people. Well, it's really something. Let's see, I'm going back to my shorthand notes, and as I said previously, Bob, I can't read these too well. Oh yes, what's this duty every 3rd day? Good night. What happened to all the, what do they call them? Of course, in the employment class we call them peons, but in the Navy they call them white hats or something of that sort. What happened to all those kids? Don't they ever have what, Wilma Janice? Oh, duty, of course. That's where we were. Let's see. Oh, yes. You were reading your letter to me, you know, while you were taping it. I had such a big kick out of it because I think actually I read your letters easier than you do after you're the one who's written them. It is hilarious. But anyway, the tape was so nice. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then you stop for this whistling, and this I thought was real cute because I can just see you when you do it, you know, oh, or whatever it is you do. Oh yes, one little item. I'm getting down close to the end of this tape, Bob, but this teasing you when you were at my house, I don't know why I did it. I honestly don't. It's just me, and I wanted reassurance, as I'm sure everyone does if you care about a person, and maybe this is the only way I could get it from you, is to tease you about, oh, when you leave, you're going to forget me right away. Good night. I have no right in this world to even say anything in that manner because, let's face it, I didn't know you too well. We were together quite a bit, though, weren't we? Which I thoroughly enjoyed. I used to look forward to you coming over, Bob, honestly. And then one night, let's see, what was it? Oh, yes. Oh, I remember. No, it was that Sunday that you had the duty, and I was so sorry I didn't get out to base to see you. I actually missed you. And I think it's true with everyone. When you're used to someone and you like them, you want them around, and then all of a sudden they're not there for a day, you do miss them. It's only logical. But back to the teasing part of it. Believe me, I'm sure at the same time, although I was teasing, I probably felt that you would forget me. And this is only logical. It's, as I said, it was a very quick 2 months. In fact, too darn quick. But anyway, someday we'll have to talk about that. I'd really like to. Let's see, I'm just lighting a cigarette, trying to think of things to tell you. Oh, I can talk about Jeannie Mortimer for a while. Cigarette tastes so good. My nerves are much calmer now, but I'm sure this tape is pretty poor. Anyway, Jeannie is dating a very nice fellow from the base again. Only this time it isn't from Moffett Field, it's from Ames Laboratory. But he's a real sweet kid. She brought him over one Saturday afternoon. We sat and had a cup of coffee and chatted. Real nice boy. He's from Virginia. He's a Lieutenant JG. His name is Preston something. I can never remember his last name, which is very poor on my part. I never remember names, always faces. Real nice person. They're doing quite a bit together. They go out quite often. He stops by for coffee. He takes her out for coffee. She seems to like him quite well, although I don't think Jeannie wants to get serious with anyone right now. She likes him. Believe me, she does. It's only logical. For myself, it's only normal that every girl dates, and this I am doing, which I enjoy. I met this fellow, a new fellow from work. He, let's see, is an engineer. He's 32, 33, etc. Anyway, he got interested in the little theater up in Palo Alto. And so I was going up there, let's see, well, I have been going, except for last night, for about 2 weeks helping with scenery and stage production and all this type of thing. And I found it most interesting. I'm just real sorry that I don't have thespian traits to be able to carry this thing a little further. It's very time-consuming, but quite interesting. And I met some exceptionally fine people. They're from all walks of life, and just real nice. It's real fine to get people from all walks of life to be so congenial and compatible in 3 or 4 weeks. But anyway, the play, the Inspector General, was very good, and I enjoyed it immensely. And as I said, it was time-consuming, and perhaps this is one reason that I haven't tried to call ... I don't know, Mink. I honestly can't explain it. But as I said, it's difficult to put 2 girls together, one who's dated you and the other, whether you believe it or not, whether you want to accept it. She does love you, Mink. Really. Oh, Wilma, Janice, why do you go back to this? Anyway, let's drop this also. You can tell me, as I said earlier, to go to hell if you like. Oh yes, Easter is coming up. And what are your plans, may I ask, for Easter? Do the Japanese celebrate at the same time? No, of course they don't. No, they wouldn't. No. But anyway, I do hope that you have a very pleasant Easter, that you have liberty that day, that you party also, which I know you do, and enjoy immensely. Oh, I tell you, I'm getting down to the end of this, Bob, and I really don't know how far down I am. It's terrible not knowing anything about these newfangled gadgets. I wish I did. But anyway, in case I run... No, I shouldn't run out of tape. I should wise up to this machine. Beautiful thing. It's a VM, by the way, which I think yours is, isn't it? Right. Remember the record that I wanted to get for you, that I wasn't real sure that you would enjoy, or if you already had it in your collection. I'd planned to play it in the background as I'm taping this, you know, for this low, sexy type tape to you, but no second recording machine around here, so I couldn't do it. But anyway, very good. Let's see now, Bob. Oh, my car. Yeah, I do enjoy it very much. And thank you. I'm glad that you're pleased for me. Let's face it, this darn DeSoto is too big for me. Good night, it's about a 16-passenger car. No, actually, it's a 5 or 6, I don't know. But it is too big, and I try to use it sparingly because it's bunglesome to me, if you know what I mean. Gosh, that old 38 DeSoto was real fine. Oh, Bob, I'm getting to the end of this thing. In case it flips off real fast, I'll close it here. Write to me when you can. Give my regards to all the fellows. I promise I'll write to your mother. I've been so poor about writing lately. Let's see, right when you can. Oh, yeah, something else I did want to ask you. Are you staying in the Navy? Are you getting out of the Navy? Are you or when you return to Moffett, do you stay here a month and go to... Bob, this is it. Goodbye.